Hello and welcome to Director Tech Talk. I'm Derek Westby, and with me today is...
I'm James Wyngaard, the Director for Rice Lake Community Media.
And welcome to Director Tech Talk, where we have a very exciting show for you. We're going to talk all about what, James?
We are going to talk about automotive technology and all the tech fun stuff and safety stuff and other technology that goes into your cars these days.
Well, that's very interesting. I have a very smart car. So tell me about some of the smart things out there that are help with safety.
Sure. So for safety, we've come a long way from, the anti-lock brakes and that being the only thing. And one thing that has been introduced to cars in the last several years is, of course, adaptive cruise control. And so what that does is a little beam is sent out from the front of your car, and you put your cruise control on, and it reacts to how fast or how slow the car in front of you is going and adjusts your car accordingly. So that's kind of neat. Lane departure warnings. So if you are on a road trip somewhere, and then all of a sudden, maybe you're drifting off a little bit or something like that in your car, or you're distracted, because nobody's ever distracted while they're driving. You may be drifting over into the next lane or something like that. An alarm starts going off in your car that says, "Hey, pay attention, you're drifting."
Didn't we have an old school version of that called rumble strips?
Yes, we did. We still do have that, but that, I think, is more so if you're almost going off the road rather than, drifting out of a, 2-lane or 3-lane, or if you're in a big city, maybe a 6-lane highway or something like that. Also, a lane keep assist activity, and what that is your car actually takes over the steering for you to keep you in, so rather than just send you a warning, it actually gets you back to where you belong in the first place. Blind spot alerts, of course, as you're going down the highway, there's a lot of vehicles now that have a little symbol or a light that shines up on the driver's side rear view mirror, or on the passenger side, and maybe sometimes it will also give you an audio alert. Cross traffic alert is interesting because if you're backing out of a driveway and you have a sidewalk, or you're on a busy street, or if you're backing out of a parking space or something like that, you're at a store. So once you put your car in reverse, it'll send out signals to see if there are any, kids on bikes or cars or pedestrians or something like that, and will let you know if there's traffic coming in from either side behind you. And then automatic emergency braking is when the car senses that a collision is imminent. Automatic emergency braking activates your car's brakes, potentially avoiding or maybe minimizing an accident. It can react faster than a person and can start working even before you hit the brakes. So before your reflexes kick in, your car's already helping you stop. So those are some of the safety features that I found really interesting as I've been doing some research here recently on car technology.
With the reverse brake assist, the cross traffic alert that you were talking about, that's in addition to like a backup camera, or?
Correct. Yep. So the backup camera lets you visually see, but the cross traffic alert is actually a function of the car. There's little sensors in the back that send out, I guess, basically a radar signal, and if it detects motion at any level, it'll send an alert to you and says, hey, you might want to wait a minute because there's a garbage can or a child or a toy or a basketball hoop or another car or a person or whatever lurking behind you, and you don't want to run them over.
With that, how small does that go? I mean, if there was a squirrel running around in circles around a tree, would that cause an issue, or does it make like adapted for like different size types of movement?
I would imagine that it will have to follow a certain size requirement. So, if a hummingbird flies behind your car when you're backing up, I'm fairly certain that it won't cause chaos and stress for you. But if you've got a basketball, or maybe a small garbage can, or a bicycle or something like that, I think then it would start alerting you.
Okay. Well, and with all these lane departure warnings and keep assists, what about like the self-driving car technology?
Sure. Yeah, self-driving car technology we've heard a lot about recently, and it's well, as we tape this anyway, we're in 2021, and one of the noted CEOs of a company, of a self-driving car company, not exclusively, but had said previously that we were going to see self-driving cars by 2019, and certainly by 2020. Well, when said self-driving car runs into a wall or gets into a big wreck and kills people, that kind of puts that on hold. So we are still in testing phases. We're still in research phases before self-driving vehicles are going to be out there in full force. I personally think that we're probably not going to see self-driving cars for several years yet, because it seems that there are so many different variables that need to go into it. As it is, people still are taking these cars out and think that they're still getting away with it. And people are, reading the paper or putting their makeup on or eating breakfast or whatever it happens to be, and, not necessarily paying attention to what you should be paying attention to. But it's, I don't think the technology is quite there yet to offer a fully functional self-guided vehicle yet.
Now this is sort of an opinion question. Do you think that self-driving technology, especially in like semi-trucks, would help address the high cost of shipping, since it's very difficult to find a truck driver anymore? Do you think that the whole concept of the self-driving vehicles is going to make a leap into the self-driving semi-trucks and hauling stuff? Because right now a driver can't drive 24 hours a day, but a self-driving semi probably could.
Well, it's funny you ask that, because I was just having that very discussion with some friends a couple of weekends ago, and one of them happens to be a truck driver, and she was mentioning that she has seen, I don't know if they're prototypes, but certainly kind of primitive editions of those sorts of things. And she was talking about just what I was talking about earlier, where you're seeing people, truck drivers, go lay down in the cab or something like that while the truck is cruising down the road. Well, I don't think, and really she didn't think either, that is going to stay the way it is for a while, because much like a sedan or a coupe, as it were, I think you're probably asking for more problems with the semi-trucks that are 10 times as big and 10 times as heavy as what a regular car is, and further stopping distance and all that sort of thing. Sure, you've got the adaptive technology and things like that, but I don't think, and based on kind of what I heard from somebody who's actually in the industry, that it's something that's going to be around for quite a while yet.
All right, that sounds that makes a lot of sense. So we've talked about safety features. What other types of things can you get to make your driving experience a little more comfortable?
So a couple of things that I wanted to touch on, one of which, of course, you could either do as a camera, but there are some vehicles now that have a video rear view mirror. And if you've gone to the store or gone to a furniture store or gone to a hardware store or something like that, and you've got paneling or boxes upon boxes upon boxes of stuff, or you go to the furniture place where you have to put everything together by hand and you've got more boxes of stuff that in the back of your vehicle. Well, sometimes instead of a camera to help you with backing up, your rear view mirror actually turns into a video camera. It's in the same spot as the traditional mirror, it's the same size, but you can toggle actually between using it as a video camera and actually as your traditional rear view mirror. So I thought that was kind of interesting. A lot of vehicle manufacturers these days are coming up with digital keys and cell phones and things. Well, they're not coming up with cell phones, but they're using cell phones as digital keys, and it makes sense for car makers, I think, to take advantage of smartphone capability. Most car makers are offering connected smartphone apps, so Ford and GM and a lot of the European models are now utilizing an electronic key that you can use to start your car with your phone. So, much like the remote start where you push the button on your keychain, now you just do it on your phone, and I think that's probably going to become a lot more prevalent as time goes on here and we get into more technology.
Well, and speaking of keys, there's a lot of cars that now you don't even take your key out of your pocket anymore. Like for example,
the push button. You've got the push button key, and as long as it's within a certain distance, it'll open the doors for you. It'll start your vehicle, not necessarily for you. You probably still have to be in it, but yeah, you're right.
Because with my vehicle, I have passive entry. So if the key is in my pocket, I put my hand in the handle of my car, and it unlocks. So I don't even have to take the key out of my pocket to do anything anymore. So
yeah, there's
this
a lot
is even
of,
making that even less.
Sure. Yeah, it's. I think that's a lot of a security issue as well. Where you don't have to be out fumbling with your keys in the middle of the night, and you don't have to take your smartphone and turn the flashlight on and try and get the key into the spot. And now, as long as it's within your pocket, as you say, you just put your hand in the handle, pull it open, and off you go.
Yeah.
One other topic I wanted to discuss was, a lot of smartphone technology, which we have talked about in a previous episode of Director Tech Talk, and you talk about Oculus, where it's virtual reality. Well, automotive suppliers now are getting into augmented reality within your car. And what that is, or part of what it is it's using heads-up displays. So instead of looking at the dashboard all the way, and some manufacturers now have screens that go all the way from door to door on your dashboard, which some may say is a little distracting. And basically all the buttons, like for your, if you've got heated car seats or you've got your air conditioning or whatever, all the buttons are basically gone. They're all tech now, so it's a touch screen, and so that sort of thing. But these heads-up augmented reality basically puts the map of your road on the windshield in front of you, and some of them will actually highlight motorcycles or bicyclists or pedestrians. They'll put a little yellow square around them to highlight them, to give you an option to, or give you the opportunity to better avoid them. You can hook your navigation system up to it, so as you're cruising down the road, GPS technology is to the point where, of course, it knows what street you're on, and then instead of either listening to the voice to say, in 2 miles, turn right on 10th Street. Well, it actually shows you on the windshield, on the heads-up technology, that in 2 miles you should turn. And once you get there, it has the arrow and pointing to the direction that you need to go.
Wow, that's really useful.
Yeah, it really is, and a lot of people say that sort of stuff is it's a safety feature as well, because instead of glancing down to the dashboard or over to your 7-inch screen where your maps are or your radio is or anything like that, you're always going to be looking straight ahead, and without getting too much into the weeds here, the glass would be kind of like a teleprompter glass, where it's the see-through, the beam splitting glass, where you're able to see through it and not be distracted by a different color, a different shade.
So, wouldn't that distract drivers, or do you think that would help them?
I think there's probably a combination of both. I think, I got to be in an electric car not all that terribly long ago as a driver, and to me, having the dashboard and the kind of the control panel, the surface, looking like a video game with things lighting up and flashing and sounds going off and like 86 different colors and all this other stuff. If I can simplify that into a heads-up display where I can be looking straight ahead and kind of through that display still onto the road, I would say that that's more of a safety feature than a distractionary feature, because you're looking at the information that you need without having to take your eyes off the road if you're looking kind of through that display still onto the road.
Okay. And one of the things that a lot of parents are concerned about is teen driving. Is there anything that that cars have or can get that help ensure that your 16, 17, 18-year-old is driving your car safely?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, there's quite a few of the features that are coming out now and have been out for a little while, especially from vehicles from General Motors, so Chevy, GMC, Buick, Cadillac, those types of cars and trucks. Teen driver technology is becoming a very big and important sort of thing, and a couple of the features that it has. You can turn the system on, and it will tell you if and when the car has been driven over a certain speed. So if you want to know that it's been over 60 miles an hour, it'll tell you. I don't know if it sends a text message or if it just logs it and then you can download it somewhere. It'll tell you if it's over a certain speed. It will disable the radio if seat belts aren't in use. So if if your teenagers are going out to I don't know, Lover's Leap or something like that, and you've got they're starting to get amorous and they take their seat belts off, well, all of a sudden the radio goes off. Well, I suppose that's not really the whole point of going out there in the first place, but if you want music in the background, there's that.
Well, wouldn't that also make sure they buckle their seatbelt when they get in the car? Because
exactly. Yeah.
A lot of teenagers, well, I guess even up to millennials, can't drive without music. My car is always streaming something or playing something because I just can't drive in silence. So, wouldn't that seems like it'd be a good feature to just make sure anybody buckles up.
Correct. Yeah, I would say that that's absolutely correct. And here locally in Rice Lake, of course, we have our radio station, WYRL 105.5 FM, and I flip back and forth between satellite radio and our local station locally, just to make sure that we're on the air and the content is good and sounds good and volume is good and that sort of stuff, and then satellite radio. But then when I go on a road trip, unlike you, Derek, sometimes I will turn everything off. I'll turn the radio off. I'll just sit and drive in silence because that's my kind of decompression time. And you just go and that's the end of that. But if I were a teenager, and I haven't been for quite a long time, but if I were and I still wanted to listen to the radio, this technology would force me to wear my seatbelt, otherwise the radio isn't going to work. A couple other things to mention about that. If your parents are, they don't want you to hear, the explicit rap or explicit music, or the lyrics of a song are a little too edgy for them. With the technology that's available now, they can filter out the explicit content, especially if the car comes with satellite radio. Well, I guess only if, because you can't really filter that out on regular radio. And also, you can set volume limits on the sound system. So, maybe you don't want your 80 decibel bass thumping through the neighborhood. So you can set the volume limits there. And then there's a report card that will tell parents that if safety features like ABS, anti-lock brakes, or forward collision alert have been triggered while your teenage son or daughter was behind the wheel. So it gives them an opportunity to see exactly how attentive of a driver your teenager is.
Well, that seems very useful.
It is, and especially with kids, and we were talking about it in a different show that sometimes they get a little too distracted by cell phones or radios or things like that, and to have these capabilities at parents' fingertips to say, hey, what were you doing, or what was going on when you had to slam on the brakes before you hit this tree, or before you hit the car, or whatever it happened to be, or whatever it was that you were doing. Tell me what was going on and what we need to do to fix it.
Well, and I've seen on some cars, if you slam on the brakes, there's an internal camera that takes pictures of outside and inside the car, and sends an alert to the parents as well.
Correct. Yeah, that's part of that. Also, I think that's also part. It's an overall function of the cameras that are available in cars now, because there are some cars where it looks like there's one that's maybe 15 feet above the car, and it shows all the way around to see if there's anything within 3 feet of your vehicle, if you're going to hit it, or 5 feet or 10 feet or whatever. And that's kind of an adaptive assist with parking, or the backup feature, or any of those sorts of things too.
Interesting. Is there anything else you want to touch on about automotive technology?
Well, the one thing I'm going to leave you with is something that a lot of us forget about. Now that, as we record this anyway, we're getting into the fall season, but once we get back into the spring and bicyclists and motorcyclists are out, one of the things that I found while I was doing some research for this particular program is there is technology now that will alert you if a motorcyclist or a bicyclist is coming up on your rear. So if you're parked off to the curb, it will tell you before you open your door. And I think probably this is more a big city issue than it is a rural issue, but I suppose it could still be applied in either way. Bicycle riders, motorcycle riders have to be as concerned with people opening their doors into traffic as much as anything else. And there's a system within a lot of vehicles that's being implemented now and kind of forthcoming, where it will use rear-looking sensors to tell you if a bike is coming up on you, so you don't open your door and wipe out the bicyclist, or they hit your door and break your door, or whatever. So it's really a safety feature for them. And the other really nice thing about it is it will continue to function for several minutes after your car's engine is off. So much like, if you want to roll your windows up and you've already turned your car off, you don't have to turn it back on to roll your windows up. Well, this feature will also function after your car's engine is off. So that's a really nice thing as well.
Oh yeah, that would be a really great safety feature just for the people around you. I mean, we're kind of in a society right now where we're paying more attention to the people around us. We're hopefully wearing masks in public and keeping everyone around us safe. This is a great way to show that we're trying to keep our neighbors and friends safe. So that's really great.
Right, and that's one of the segments of the population that I think gets overlooked probably more than it should is bicyclists, cyclists. And again, I think part of it goes to the big city mentality where you've got the bike messengers going out and people are in a hurry and they all fling their door open out into the lane of traffic, and all of a sudden bike is coming up, smash, and they're going through your driver's side window, or worse, they take the door off or something like that, and they wreck their bike and they wreck themselves, and if you're stepping out of the vehicle, their bike could be wrecking into you too, for that matter. So yeah, I think it's one of those really important and probably overlooked features that we've needed for quite a long time.
Awesome. And I also have heard about technology that's helping motorcyclists stay safe. They now have vests set if the motorcycle crashes or they detect you're moving in a different trajectory, it'll inflate like an airbag. So now there's even safety features like that that's not necessarily on the bike, but what you can wear. So.
Right, and I think some of that also kind of equates to like the OnStar system or your cell phone. Your cell phone will recognize whether or not you've fallen, and the OnStar system kind of in the vehicles from, I think they're still in play, but they will call for an ambulance for you, or they'll call for assistance should you need it if you get into a wreck or dump your bike or whatever it happens to be.
Yeah, my vehicle has a 911 button that is up on the ceiling, so if I get in an accident and I can't find my phone, I can just hit the button and through Bluetooth it'll call 911. So there's a lot of safety features just built into the cars now that there wasn't, pre-seatbelt where you just laid in the back window while your parents drove.
And maybe that's something we can talk about in a future show is motorcycle safety and technology regarding two-wheeled or maybe even three or four-wheeled conveyances too, when it comes to like UTVs and things like that, which we have experience with. And I think it would be interesting to go through and see kind of how that's evolved too over the years.
Absolutely. All right, I think we are just about out of time, so we'll check in with you guys again for another edition of Director Tech Talk down the road. But for now, I'm Derek Westby.
I'm James Wyngaard from Rice Lake Community Media.
And I am from WTCO Trempealeau County. And we will see you next time on Director Tech Talk.